It's welcome. You are there, Conor?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Emmanuel, pour l'invitation de participer à cette webinaire. Comme vous l'avez dit tout à l'heure, je vais parler en anglais.
Okay. Okay. So
Merci beaucoup.
I propose you make your presentation. During this
Yeah.
time, the participant, they can raise their questions on the chat, or maybe at the end of the presentation, and we have an exchange with you at the end of the presentation.
Perfect.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
If you want to share a presentation,
I didn't have time to prepare to get one prepared, but I can provide materials which are available online. We can link them to you later.
Okay, perfect. The floor is yours.
So let me start off, I suppose, by just introducing a little bit the scale of our diaspora. Ireland is a population of around 5 million people, and we estimate that the number of people outside of Ireland who claim Irish ancestry is around 70 million. So there are 15 times more people outside of Ireland who are of Irish heritage than we have. So our diaspora is very, very large. In fact, it is of such significance that we recognize it in Article 2 of our Constitution, that which reads that the Irish nation cherishes its special affinity with people of Irish ancestry living abroad, who share its cultural identity and heritage. In fact, our struggle for national independence, quite frankly, could not have been achieved without the support of our diaspora. And our longest ever serving prime minister and a former president was in fact a member of our diaspora. So for us, the diaspora has always been a central part of our national experience. The government very recently, just 6 weeks ago, adopted a new 5-year strategy for the relationship with our diaspora, which sets out a direction that I and my colleagues, as well as other ministries across the government, will work to implement over those 5 years. We set out targets for promotion of culture amongst our diaspora, for connecting with third, fourth generation members of the diaspora, for broadening our outreach to recognize the growing diversity of our diaspora, which reflects also the growing diversity of our society at home. So, as I say, we promote sport, heritage, culture, education, which connects the diaspora to Ireland. We also, however, have goals in terms of what we have targeted, the prosperity element of the relationship with our diaspora. Things like business networks, as well as sector-specific diaspora networks and things like research, development, innovation-related communities, say amongst the Silicon Valley diaspora of Ireland. And other parts of this are to work with alumni networks. And finally, we also look at supporting the return of our diaspora to Ireland and how we can engage our diaspora when they wish to return, in particular in supporting things like mutual recognition and portability of academic and professional qualifications, as well as reciprocal arrangements with countries on things like double taxation, social security agreements, and so on. One area that I think I want to speak of in particular today, however, is a program we administer called Back for Business. We recognized some years ago that amongst the returning diaspora were many people with extensive business experience that had provided a real opportunity for us in our society to build on the great skills and experience of people who had worked in various high-value economic sectors around the world and wished after those years abroad to come back, because we understood that they faced, despite their experience and their success, they nonetheless faced challenges that were specific to the process of returning. They did not have networks in their professional sphere in Ireland. They did not have experience of dealing with employment law or taxation issues or specific market conditions in their own areas. So we established in 2018 a new program called Back for Business. And this set out a number of targets that it would develop a program of resources and services for returned migrant entrepreneurs, provide modules to address the challenges which impact returning immigrant entrepreneurs, that it should ensure a geographical spread of program participants across the country, and especially in areas outside of the main urban centres, to support the government's policy on rural development, that it should involve successful business leaders in Ireland with strong peer networks to provide opportunities to support those startup enterprises that the returning migrants were beginning, and to demonstrate how the selected participants are developing their business and capacity as a result of program participation, to measure the economic and community impacts which this program had across our country. So I think we feel that this program has been enormously successful. I think when we conducted a review of the most recent program, which took place in 2020, therefore during a period of severe economic stress, a uniquely challenging time to be setting up new enterprises, that nonetheless the combined turnover of the 40 participants, though these are all startup enterprises, went over a 6-month cycle. Before they began the cycle, they had a combined turnover of 1.9 million. By the end of the cycle, through these kind of peer networking, mentorship, entrepreneurship, and skills development activities, that the enterprises had in fact increased their turnover to 6.2 million. So 226% growth in enterprise revenues, which was extraordinary and very successful. Again, this is a small number of enterprises, around 38, I think, that they had employed 74 staff. So, this is a remarkable turnover, because startup enterprises don't usually have significant employees. They expanded the exports from 6 participants at the start of the cycle to 15 at the end of the cycle, as well as another 4 who were in pre-export mode and therefore expecting to export in the next 3-4 months. We found that the participants themselves expressed the opinion that they had gained enormously from participation in the program. That 97% reported in a survey that they had come close to achieving their ambitions because of the participation. 100% said that they would recommend the program to others, and 97% felt that they wished to maintain the networks that they had developed in the program following the conclusion of the program, so that they would continue to support the other participants and vice versa. The costs of this program are quite modest for us. We, I think, spend about 150,000 euros. So that's around 3,500 euros per participant over a 6-month training cycle. They do not get from us any financial assistance. It is purely this mentorship, networking development, and skills development training. The mentorship is conducted by very experienced business leaders who volunteer their time. And these are people with extensive experience across sectors such as construction, retail, agriculture, ICT sectors. So a whole range of economic activity. This is not intended to select certain sectors. It is intended to support a category of people rather than a category of enterprises. We are reporting that some of them then expressed interest in further development modules. So we have reformed the program, refined it based on our experience, to now include a further development module for a small group of enterprises who wish to participate in a second year's training to develop their skills further. We regard this, and we conducted a review of it ourselves, and with a view to continuing to support this activity, and we are happy to do so because we believe that this not only supports our returning diaspora, but also it is a model that works very well in terms of the startup sector. We think that the peer reviews across other areas with startup support programs have shown that the diaspora are in fact a particularly strong sector. These are people with great ambition, great energy, because they have shown this through their decisions to move around the world, to the mobility, the additional experiences gained from this clearly give these people a higher level of skills and experience. And it is a matter of supporting them on their return to their home country that gives them unique advantages. So I think, I'd be happy to share more materials with you on this program and on our strategies. Thank you.